I'm happy to hear what's been happening. So we watched Sheik Fox the last two times. What what did I leave you with at the end of last lesson?
Last lesson, we talked the things I had written down. And after rewatching, I was like, okay, this was most of the things. I was supposed to practice solo so that I can figure out why I hold the trigger for too long, and work on the mechanics of that. Make sure I either start doing it less so that it becomes more of a so that we can kill the habit, or fix it.
Okay.
Been able to do that. Sat down and did a lot of that. I sat down and really just did a lot of movement practice with that in mind, and then I did L cancel practice, which was kind of cool to do.
Okay.
Because it's something I haven't done in a long time.
Cool. So
to make sure that
are you successful in not holding the trigger now?
yeah, it's not perfect, and I recognize now that there are a lot of the time when it happens, it's because I am, for lack of a better way of putting it, like afraid or nervous of like the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that actually just recently I was just practicing before our lesson, and the last game that my practice partner and I played was honestly felt kind of like a breakthrough, because it felt like I was really able to be conscientious of not doing it anymore. The couple of the games before, I was like, oh man, I'm like being very nervous and not being very fluid, and I recognized that we watched our matches, and then I recognized while watching it, I was like, dude, I'm just kind of still doing it, and I'm doing it when I'm uncertain of what I should be doing, and I'm afraid of him. So I kind of just the last game seriously stopped doing it, and I don't think I did it the whole match. Unfortunately, I don't have that recorded.
Cool.
But I'm definitely working on it. That's kind of the best thing that I can say, and I think that I've come a long way from starting from sitting down and doing it to like bringing it in friendlies.
Yeah.
I'm being really good about
makes sense.
going from practice into friendlies, which is nice.
Okay, so that's one thing. What else?
We talked about we wanted to clean up reaction points, study positions, and that had a lot to do. There was a lot of that was really related to. Let me just read something really quick. Oh, actually, before that, the kind of the number 2 was paying attention to what I'm paying attention to.
Paying attention to what I'm paying attention to. Okay.
Yeah, so we kind of last lesson we talked about how I was paying attention to him sometimes, but sometimes I wasn't paying enough attention to him. Sort of how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent some time in the lab doing that, working on that, making sure that I was looking at myself less and paying more attention to the opponent. It's become particularly important, and we've talked about this before in the Falco matchup. Whether or not you're able to power shield the laser is heavily dependent on whether or not you're actually looking at him and you recognize that he's going to laser, or that he's pulling the weapon out. And that's just an example of how I've been able to kind of like start focusing on those sorts of things a little bit more. I recognized that I was able to play a couple sessions and say, okay, and that time I wasn't paying as close enough attention. That game I was paying a little bit more attention, and I've been watching my games really regularly, which is nice. And I have a better sense of when I can tell, or I have a better sense when watching my videos of like when I was actually paying attention to my opponent versus when I was just paying attention to myself.
So I remember when we talked about that. I don't think we specifically talked about that in the context of power shielding, did we?
No, we didn't.
So what was the context? What was I trying to get you to notice?
The context was... Oh, I didn't write down how we got to this conclusion.
Yeah, because it was like, essentially, I was like, okay, well, is this the problem or is this the problem? And then you were like, I don't know. But I don't remember what the situation was where I was like, okay, here are the situations. Let me know what you're paying attention to so that we can figure out the solution.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Okay. Well, that's fine.
Shit.
You can always rewatch it.
Yeah.
But that, I remember, that's why I asked you to pay attention to what you were paying attention to, because I was like, well, now we can figure out like why you're not successful at X, Y, or Z, or whatever.
Yeah, well, I can't remember if it was like a threat zone thing or if it was a like reaction point thing.
I think there was something you weren't reacting to, but I don't remember what it was. It was something where I was like, well, like clearly to react to this,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there might have been something where it's like you had him in the corner.
Was it
Um,
the was it when I grabbed the like full hop bear and I like just barely grabbed him?
that was one, but there was another where you ran off the
There
top
was another
platform
one.
with a fair, and then he was in the corner, and then he like jumped to the he got up from the ledge
Oh
normally and then
yeah, yeah,
jumped.
yeah, yeah. Yes, I
Dang, I'm
remember
glad I
that now.
remember. That's hype. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah,
It
and I
was
was
he was
like,
on the
well, like,
platform, right, and I was below him.
yeah, and I was like, well, like,
Yeah,
what were you even looking at to make these decisions? Because like, I can't really
right,
judge your decision making process.
right. Um, yeah, I spent time on that. Not necessarily that scenario, but I spent time on being on like synthesizing positioning into decision making.
Okay.
Um, there's an element of because I think that was kind of the gist of that, and then it was also related to threat zones, is how I remember it being. That's how I remember us talking about it. Um, and when I've been in the lab, I've been doing a lot of how to put this. I guess the best way to put it is like is shadowboxing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been doing a significant amount of shadowboxing with the attention on in addition to like kind of training this reaction, paying attention to them thing. Do you kind of see what I'm getting at? Like I
Mm-hmm.
kind of am imagining them doing something
Yeah, yeah. Not how
and
you're
then reacting
shadowboxing
to
it.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. That is what
And
shadowboxing
um
is.
and I've been using that in combination with actual punish practice
Mm-hmm.
to kind of better to solidify my sense of reaction points and make sure that when I have a punish situation, I'm able to react appropriately.
No, for sure.
Um,
Um,
we've also been talking a lot about like spot dodges and rolls and making sure I'm acting properly out of those.
yeah. So
That's not
how's that
perfect.
going?
That's not perfect, and I wish it was better. I still recognize sometimes that I will hold the I will like I was actually doing it in practice, and I was like, okay, I gotta stop doing this.
Okay.
Um,
Did you just explicitly work on it or not yet?
yes, I did. I
Okay.
did explicitly work on that, and I don't think it's perfect. There are some games that I think even just when I was playing just an hour or two ago, um, I would roll or spot dodge, and I would still be holding the shield button when I could have. And I'm recognizing it in the moment now, which is
Yeah,
a nice thing.
that
I'm
is the first
recognizing when it
step.
happens and going, okay, like I shouldn't have done that. And generally, what's been really interesting about how productive my practice has been is that I am making the same mistakes less and less. I'm not
Oh,
repeating
that's good.
mistakes very often.
That's
At
good.
most, it's um, two or three times until I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way to come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of evidence that maybe the contextualization element of everything is getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So yeah, I've had a really nice, really productive. This past week was my most productive. I just started classes at the end of August, so I spent like a week not really practicing a lot,
Mm-hmm.
just so I could make sure I had my workload well understood. But the past week, I've been practicing every day for at least 30 minutes. The average is kind of like an hour.
That's good.
Um, and I put Slippy on my TV on my Wii, and so now when I have a friend coming over regularly, and we're like playing a couple games and then watching it and talking about it,
Nice.
and that's been extremely productive. It's been extremely productive actually, which is awesome.
That's it.
Even just in the few times we've done it.
Okay.
So yeah, Melee's been good.
I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Was there anything specific at the end of last time where I was like, "This is what I want you to do," or was it just like a bunch of things?
I think it was very much the making sure or I focus on the trigger resolution,
Mm-hmm.
because that's just making my movement really sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the attention kind of in combination with reaction points. So those are the big three things that I took away from it. And when I watched through, I don't think I got all the way through it. I got through three-fourths of the way through it.
Cool.
That was
Okay.
kind of what I took away again.
Well, sounds like we're fine then. Do you want to link me
Yeah,
what we're watching today?
yeah. I think I just copied it. Yes, I did.
Oh, so these games are from today.
Mm-hmm. From today on the CRT, I think that what we're gonna see is I think what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought as soon as I opened my mouth.
CRT. That's a treat. So
I would like to give us nothing but these now.
Yeah, that'd be
'cause
sick.
it's just
so you have Slippy, so you can just
better.
record Slippy and upload it.
Yeah, it's just down. It just records onto a thumb drive. You just pull the thumb drive out, put it on your computer.
Yeah,
it's that easy.
That's great.
Okay.
Well,
what was I gonna say?
Well, do you have this recorded?
Anyway.
Or, I mean, do you have this playing?
Yeah, that big loading. Oh, there it is.
Okay. So anyway, let me know when it's playing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it playing?
Yeah, it's playing.
Okay, going back to the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, what was your first action? Talk to me.
Run up shield, and I missed a shield drop.
So your goal was to shield drop?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm nearly positive.
Interesting. Okay, and then when you shield drop, you let go of the trigger, so then you messed up.
Yeah.
And then you probably got confused once you messed up. That's reasonable. So let's talk about. So you short out needle him, and it's successful, right?
Right.
So let's say you are successful, because the goal of any option is to be successful with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you're successful. What do you hope to achieve after that needle hits? Like, what's the ideal? What do you want to happen?
Ideally, I want to interrupt what he's doing.
Yeah.
And an effort
the needle's
to...
already done that, right?
Yeah. So okay, so we're talking about right after that.
Yeah. So it's like assuming that your option did work. What do you want to do with
that? Act in a way that begins to threaten his sense of space and his control over the stage. Run forward, drop through the platform.
Yeah, so
I think ideally in that situation,
right? Because if you run forward, you can maybe just hit him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You probably can't hit him directly after the needle because you did kind of a rising needle. He's at 0. There's no way you're gonna like combo it, right?
Right, exactly.
But you could move forward. If you drop if you drop through the platform, that's good because you get to the ground and then you can threaten him on the ground, right?
Totally.
Anything else that you would consider maybe good?
I could run off the platform and do a fair, but this height's a little weird, and I don't think it would auto cancel.
Well, that's less of the problem, and more that like you wouldn't have time after needling him because he could easily like
you or
something.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
Let's stick to moving forward. Moving forward, good. Okay. Dropping down, good. Anything else?
You go to the top platform.
Okay, so like maybe you could use this as an opportunity. Generalize that for me. So like how do you generalize that concept? So you hit him with the needle and you move to top platform. What are you achieving by doing that?
What I'm achieving is I'm forcing him to play around my position instead of playing into his position. Now he has to either interact with me on the platform or go to the sides to have me come back down, or he could just wait for me and then we just reset the situation, in which case I could just move around.
So generalize it even more than that. What are you doing in a nutshell, in one word?
Moving.
Yeah, you're moving, so like repositioning maybe.
Okay, that's a better way to think about it and contextualize it. Yeah.
I just want you to train you to like articulate with a good set of with a good vernacular.
With the vocabulary. Yeah, I understand.
So you have options. You can move forward or move down. I would say those options allow you to potentially threaten him more. You could reposition entirely, which you might elect to do if you believe that repositioning is more valuable than your current position. Or, you didn't say this yet, but you could also just wait where you are. Maybe you feel that your current position is perfectly acceptable, but you don't feel like there's anything you can really do in it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Something also to consider is that which way you're facing significantly affects the value of your position. So if you wanted to stop him from coming in from a certain range, maybe turning around to back air as you drop through is better than facing forward, because then you have to turn around if you want to back air.
Right.
So you just have options, right? So given that all of those things, let's watch and see what you do after the first needle that you hit him with. So what do you think of that?
Needle him 2 more times.
Yeah, so you needle him more, right? So given everything we talked about, we didn't talk about needling more, right?
Right.
So we didn't talk about needling more because you didn't have a big enough advantage after the first needle hit because it was kind of like a rising needle, right?
Right. Right.
To where like what's the point in setting up like another jump needle? Like you could easily do anything in that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
really productive. You've already achieved like whatever you're gonna achieve. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
So in terms of like what it does, it doesn't do much, right? Does this
Give me
make
one
sense?
sec. Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah, just cost benefit wise, like doing one of these other things, we
It's just
feel
better. Yeah, it's just
is
better.
better.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. So then you kind of toss a couple, but it doesn't really do anything. And then you try to run off fair. Um, so that run off fair only really hits if he moves forward, right?
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to bait. So I would be aware because he was just standing outside of range. Or if he just stood there and then like hit you.
Right.
But that's not to say it was awful because if you do it quickly and execute it well, it is still very difficult to punish. And then if he moves forward, it covers an option, right?
Give me one sec. Give me one sec. I want to write down a couple of things you talked about.
Sure. Take your time.
Okay.
Okay. So, also, if he runs forward, he can CC that fair and then potentially shine you.
Truth.
So, okay, sorry. My brain just farted for a bit. I was like, what are we talking about?
That's okay.
So, yeah, anyway. So given that platform position, again, maybe moving forward. And when you move, you don't even have to dash. You can even just walk. So, if we were to compare being at the left edge of the platform to the right edge, I'd say being at the left edge, if he's not hitting you already or you don't give up frame advantage, is better for you, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you want to move to the left edge, but without committing to anything. So you can even just walk. So just understanding like these positions and like what you would rather be doing, I think is super important for your game plan. Because otherwise, it's like you're in these spots and you have these general notions, but you don't really have a plan, Beyond
certainly.
that.
Certainly.
So, forward tilt hits Falco after the fair. I would say not a bad forward tilt. Not amazing either, because he probably could have done a ton of things, right?
Yeah.
But it worked fine. But if forward tilt hits Falco at, 5%, I don't think you're going to get a grab off that.
Right.
Is that reasonable?
I suppose so. I suppose it's happened before, but not for the reasons that are necessarily related to the tilt itself.
Like it could happen, but I would say it's more likely to happen if he's at like maybe 10 or 15%.
Right.
Where like he goes up but then comes down and isn't knocked over. Also, you didn't dash. Do you think you meant to dash?
I meant to and I missed it.
Ah, okay, so that's interesting then. So then maybe your tech skill off the forward tilt, is important.
Yeah, it's been kind of up and down recently. I've been wondering if I don't think there's anything wrong with my controller. I think I just need to be a little bit calmer.
It's probably just that if you've been practicing a lot, the most common thing is that as you get better, you will try to get more perfect. So you're probably just adjusting too fast right now.
Right, and I actually recognized last night, or rather, I would honestly just say in the past couple of days that once I kind of like stopped doing the be more perfect thing, honestly, things tend to go a lot better, which is like probably a self-pressure thing. So I've kind of recognized that recently too.
Yeah. But who knows if like you'll actually get better like that?
Maybe.
Like if you'll get better trying to be perfect. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, cool. As opposed to like not trying to be perfect and just doing better in the short term.
Certainly. I mean, I guess I was kind of getting it at like not perfect, but as in like excellent. Do you kind of see what I'm getting at? Like two or like hitting it at frame 2 or 3 is fine enough for the moment compared to hitting it at frame 1, just because the added pressure of hitting it at frame 1 every time is great. You know what I mean? It like adds to your mental stack of things to do.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. But
okay.
I'm just saying that in the long run, trying to be perfect is in your favor.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Cool. So anyway, so if you were gonna go for that grab, obviously you have to hit the dash. But
Right.
let's say you hit the dash. So then,
Hmm.
what can he do, to deal with that grab? He might spot dodge, might throw out a shine,
Right.
might throw out a
Right.
jab, might throw out,
Right.
a number of things, right?
Right.
Um, so I think that is something to consider. So maybe sometimes go for the grab, but sometimes mix up what you do. So maybe you could stand
Absolutely.
still or dash or jump or something and play some sort of mix up, right?
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Certainly something
important.
I've been doing too.
So I feel like once this little scramble happened, after the rapid jabs, you kind of lost sight of your game plan completely. Just kind of did some stuff, right? You just kind of ran back and forth. Do you see what I
I
mean?
undershot. I certainly undershot where I was my dash distance. I was trying to do a run, just dash, wave dash, and then turn around and counter what he does on his landing.
Mm-hmm.
But I just undershot it
Yeah, you would have had to
significantly.
go way further, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
realistically, at that spacing, you're not going to get to whiff punish any aerial he does.
Hmm.
Your best bet, if you want to punish that, is to just hold shield and then shield grab when he crosses you up. Or like dash and
Hmm.
shield and let him cross you up and get the grab.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like you're too close to move out of the way and whiff punish it.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Range at, yeah. Let me write down the time.
Yeah. But the point isn't that I wanted you to choose that option. It's more that I wanted you to recognize that, at this spacing, whiff punishing is not a viable choice.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah, even just interacting with what he wants to do on the ground at all, you would choose not to do that. In fact, you would probably choose to just pick a better position entirely
Yeah, I
instead of
don't
attempting to
think because
interact.
what you were like light shielding by accident facing the wrong way, like regardless of what you're gonna do here, like you definitely can't like win a ground to ground interaction unless it's by throwing out like a tilt or something.
Okay.
Which you could do, but you're definitely not gonna like move out of the way when you guys are like what? Like you guys are like half a platform distance away, right?
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah. If you did want to whiff punish, it might actually be by standing still. Like you could crouch and he might jump over you.
Jump over me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But essentially, just like a lot of people have this intuition that I want to whiff punish means I need to move away from them, but that's just not true as a general
Yeah,
rule.
it's certainly not true.
Yeah, it's not like a good generalization.
There are more ways
Yep.
than
Sometimes
one.
it's stand still, sometimes it's move towards them, sometimes it's move away, sometimes it's whiff punishing is not on the table right now. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So anyway, you get shined. I think double jumping was pretty bad there instead of just falling to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Does that seem reasonable?
Let me see that.
Um,
Oh yeah.
no reason to really double jump.
Okay.
And then when you charge the needles, it wasn't even that bad. I just wish you charged them later because if you charge them early, it stops you from drifting and it shows your opponent what you're doing, right?
Right,
You
right,
can do
right.
the same needles at the last second and then like it still will achieve its purpose if you get like 2 needles instead of 3 or 4.
Okay.
Like wanting more is pretty greedy given the situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've talked about something similar to that before.
Mm-hmm. But I just want to highlight it again so that you
Abs- yeah,
reiterate.
absolutely.
So we get the needles. I like that.
That's
I
a
like the run up
that's a
shield.
that's a good subtlety. I had considered a lot of the other elements of of when we talked about it before, but I hadn't really thought about, you could do it halfway down your fall
Yeah, and
distance
that's
and
like a
maybe just
significant
get
improvement.
you're not as telegraphed as
Yep.
doing it at the top of your jump.
So let's talk about the fair forward tilt. So I like the
Mhm.
fair. Seemed like a pretty reasonable spot to short hop to me. Um, so what is the F tilt hoping to accomplish after that fair?
Well, the F tilt would hope to accomplish him coming back in, or if he is in range to get hit by the F tilt. If he gets if he CCs it, then it's doesn't get me a lot.
Well, okay, so
But the
that's
point,
interesting. So if he CC's what, the fair or the F tilt?
if he CCs the F tilt or
Okay.
ASDI downs the F tilt,
Well, like how would he ASDI down the F tilt? the F tilt would have to hit first, right? But it like clearly
Right.
missed.
Yeah, and the point is it's out of range. So,
Well, so
and
that's
this is,
why I'm saying let's go back a step. What could that F tilt possibly accomplish?
the recognition should have been that I was out of range.
Yeah, unless there's one scenario where you wouldn't be out of range.
He CCs the fair.
Exactly. So we take a step back,
Right.
and it's if he CCs
Right.
the fair, then he could be in range.
Right. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
No, it's okay. But do you see what I'm thinking here?
Yeah, and that's yeah, I've been trying to work really hard on this one too.
Yeah, and that's
On
not a bad
recognizing
idea, right? I just
Yeah.
want to talk through it. So let's say he does
Right.
CC the fair. It'll clearly push him out of range for him to immediately hit you, right? Because it was pretty
Right.
spaced. He's got some percent on him. So it pushes him out of range. So then F tilt does what? It beats him doing any immediate actions, right?
Right.
It might not be beat him coming in, but it's like he might shine because he has bad awareness. He might try to CC down tilt. He might try to, do stuff like that. And F tilt will pretty much outrange or beat any immediate action he does. But that's the only thing it does. So if you do this F tilt, make sure you do it with that purpose in mind.
Right.
As opposed to an autopilot thing. Because let's say you're playing a lot and you're like, I don't think he's just going to immediately do something. Maybe you could fair and then just read what he's going to do next because you're like, oh, well, I'm not F-tilting because I don't think he's going to shine. I think he's going to... What if he holds shield, What if he doesn't want to get dash attacked or, what if he dashes back, then you just run up, you see him dash back, and then you dash attack him, stuff like that.
Right.
So just, I want you to think in this way because a lot of Sheik is getting one hit and then trying to figure out what to do next.
Right.
So I like this sequence. I like the dash dance. I like the fair. I want to point out that you didn't fast fall the fair that hit on the platform. Did you notice that?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So had you fast fallen that fair, there's a chance you could have got that combo.
Oh, yeah.
Either with F tilt or maybe even dash attack. Like you could have dash attacked him right before he fell off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So, just optimizing those things because, like,
Okay.
you maybe could have gotten a huge opening and then already killed him. Like the dash attack. Don't like the read on the platform too much.
Yeah, it was very preemptive.
Yeah, only because when he's stuck on that platform, it's so easy to react to everything for the most part. Because he's pretty limited in what he can do, right?
Yeah.
The one tricky part is you might have to crouch to not get up attacked.
Right.
But like, let's say at a very basic level, you ram to the left, and instead of charge up smashing, you crouch. If he gets up in place, you jump in back air. If he gets up to the left, then you up tilt or up smash or up air.
Right.
Just like, on a very basic level. That would be like a pretty good option coverage, right?
Yeah.
Because I think you've played well enough that you should have killed him already, essentially.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty sad I missed this one.
Okay. So.
And that's missing a reaction point, right? Like, the recognition should have been there that he had landed on the platform, and I shouldn't have gone for the read. I should have just waited.
I wouldn't call it missing a reaction point so much as you didn't even bother. I guess it depends what you mean by that. Which, like, it just depends how you want to frame it. To me, this is just you just committed to a read over a guaranteed option coverage. But the read was easier, obviously.
Okay.
And now, why you chose that is a separate story. Maybe it is because you didn't react. I don't know.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So you get lasered here, and then you mess up. So now we've seen twice where, like, if you get lasered after something weird happens, you tend to mess up. But, like, if you get lasered when nothing weird is happening, I think your plan has been better. So that might be something just to be aware of.
It was really funny today. I was honestly kind of confused because... I say confused, but there was obviously a reason for it. My laser game plan just, like, wasn't really working. I'm not really sure why. I was trying to react to the lasers, and I was doing a really good job of watching and expecting when he was going to laser. And I was just like... I was just getting hit more than I think I should have, and when I would miss the shield, the power shield, I wouldn't act properly out of it. And funnily enough, I feel like I've been really good at that. If you can kind of identify, if you feel like we can identify why, if we see something similar to that in a minute, then that would be helpful because I was honestly kind of perplexed. Even after watching it, I was like, I don't really know why. It just kind of felt like my fingers weren't doing what my brain wanted them to do.
Um, I guess the big thing in this case is that like, it's there's not too much to look at besides like you F smashed, right?
Right.
So like,
Right.
I don't know what more there is to it, but all I have to say about it is like just be aware. Like maybe sometimes it's as simple as you're messing up more than you think you are.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, Sometimes that's all it is, you know.
Yeah. Don't
Um,
make it more complicated than it needs to be.
yeah. So just like be aware of it, think about it.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, um, let's keep watching. So I assume you just messed up the needle, right?
Yeah. That
Either
was a
text
mess up.
killer controller, but had you done that the right way, I think that would have been a pretty good option. Um, I don't think dash attacking after the needle is super good. Because I don't think it would combo here, but it's a tough call.
Mm. Well, I wanted to catch him dashing back.
Yeah. Well, the question
If
is
its
then like,
control stick would have
were
been
you
the right way.
expecting the needle to go the correct direction and hit him, or did you know that the needle went the wrong way and then you chose to dash attack him anyway? Right. Those are not like the same thing.
Yeah, they're not the same thing at all. Um, I think it's one of those situations where like I missed the thing and decided to do. I'm not sure if I don't think I expected the needle to hit. I think I wanted to zone him if he came forward, and if it did hit, I was gonna capitalize on it.
Okay. Well, to me that's
Um,
weird because if you look at the situation, it was pretty much definitely gonna hit to whiff punish because he already did the down air like in front of you, right? I wouldn't really say that needle stops him from coming in. It would like already hit him for landing from that downer.
oh, okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I just barely. I think I can see it.
Yeah, or like at worst he gets a shield up maybe.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
think
I guess that would have just barely hit.
yeah, you see what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't why you were throwing the needle, I don't think the needle was very good. I think it was explicitly good because he had just short hopped kind of in place near you, but like he couldn't hit you.
Yeah, I mean that was certainly why, and I thought it was gonna be like right in front of him,
Mm-hmm.
so it would have prevented him from coming forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, was kind of the plan. As for the dash attack, I'm not sure if it was like a panic option or if it was or what. You know what I mean?
For sure. Just, something to think about, right?
So we just saw a couple examples of the shield thing still happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to talk about the other thing first. Does that make
Yeah.
sense with the needle situation?
Yes, it
Okay,
does. It does.
I want to make
Yeah.
sure we're on the same page because this is the type of thing I want you to pay attention to and think, what was I actually thinking? Because to me, this is very explicitly, I should needle because he short hop near me, and then I need to follow up on it either with a combo if possible or a mix up if possible.
Okay.
Don't really like the point blank forward tilt after the up tilt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's pretty negative, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the up tilt is pretty safe after the second hit. So like he has to do something to not just get up tilt grabbed.
Oh, yeah, I could just grab there.
Yeah,
Huh?
so you could just grab, and the only case where you like would lose if you went for grab is if they like spot dodged or rolled after the second hit. So like to me, this is a mix up where you either up tilt and then bait a spot dodge or roll, or you just up tilt grab.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, like
I didn't realize
go ahead.
I didn't realize I had the frames to grab, but now that I'm thinking about it, I totally have the frames to grab.
Grab and F tilt
Especially after
already
watching
only
it.
hit like 2 frames apart, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that another thing with that is that like if you're gonna F tilt and you guys are that close together, you might as well have up tilted anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do it twice.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna F tilt. Now, of course, that's not necessarily true if it's like spaced, because if you're spaced,
Right.
F tilt does have advantages over up tilt. But like point blank, like there's no real point, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Cool. So I guess my summary of like a lot of the stuff is that like again you're on the right track, but like I think the common theme is that you're not thinking very far ahead. before choosing your option. Like you're clearly thinking maybe one step ahead, sometimes two, but like you need to kind of have more of a plan for all these situations.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I needled the wrong way, dash attacked, up tilt in the scramble, and then like forward tilt. When you think of like those options in sequence, you see that like there wasn't much of a cohesive game plan to them, right? It was very like one step at a time.
Yeah.
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 Does that make sense?
That. Yeah, I see that.
Similar to kind of the needle situation where it's like, well, this needle was good. Other needles maybe not so much, and then you kind of were like, okay, well now I'm here. I guess I'll fare forward tilt, and then it did work, but like we could have cut out the fat in the middle, and then you could have been a lot more effective, I think, with your ideas.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at.
Cool. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, so anyway, let's keep watching because you said the thing you were talking about was about to come up. So you got this grab. That was cool. Some down smashes at the edge got you punished. Probably could have nared out a shield on that downer. Watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even maybe shield grabbed.
Oh yeah, wow. He does cross me up.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing I was talking to you about with the you can shield grab if you're facing the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty.
The recognition of the cross up there is really important.
Yep. Let's look at this next situation. You get this F tilt. I like this. I like that. Kind of don't like how this ended. So the bear was sick. The nair was not perfect, but it was a decent idea. Could have hit him go to the platform, right?
Right.
Okay. But then here's the thing: when you fared, so the bear to the nair covered an option, right? Does that make sense? Like you bared and then you naired and you covered like him doing something, right?
Yeah.
But if you nair and he doesn't move, what is the fair cover? So you nared and he just sat there, so he didn't jump into your nair. So what is doing a fair afterwards cover?
Absolutely nothing.
Pretty much only covers if he...
Him going backwards, like wave dashing backwards?
Well, it's like, it only covers him responding very slowly to the nair. Explicitly, right?
Yeah.
It is good if he just doesn't react and then does something later, right?
Totally.
And then, yeah, it'll hit a wave dash, it'll hit a jump, it'll hit him for holding shield, or it'll at least hit his shield. So, you kind of did the interesting thing where you thought ahead, but again, you thought one step ahead, and then once you thought that one step ahead, you just played as if the situation like wasn't going to change anymore. So do you see how that's kind of highlighted here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you played it, like, I think the bear was sick, your execution was sick, the nair was pretty good, like, all of that, great. Pretty much looking like Plup. Like, you really were. This is something Plup would do for sure. I could have sworn I was watching Plup in this exact moment until the fair, and then I was like, well, that was pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, I think sometimes Plup does stuff like that, but, like, for the most part. So, maybe a more reasonable decision would have been like, well, he didn't bite, so, like, obviously he's going to either get out of the situation or maybe even attack me now, right? Because it's his turn.
Yeah.
So a more reasonable choice would have thought about those things. And then after you fared, you still tried to dash attack the roll, but like the roll's already over, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you see how you're kind of a step behind now?
Yeah.
So I'd say you went from...
Very much because of that fair.
Yeah, so you went from thinking one step ahead to thinking 0 steps ahead to thinking like -1 steps ahead. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like the slow progression of like, well, now that I have less and less of a plan... Because, like, each step of the way that you don't know what to do, it's going to be harder to do the next thing correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And we're kind of seeing that in practice. So those needles maybe...
Yeah, no, I think this is perfect because I've been wondering what, like... There was clearly something that was a little bit off with my, like, with my play, and
Mm-hmm.
this feels like it might be a step in the right direction with
Yeah.
figuring out like
And the
with
answer is just
honing it a little
thinking
bit.
ahead. You have to know these positions, know these situations. Most of them are reoccurring or somewhat
Mm,
common. And then you have to
mm,
be like, okay, well, like, what
mm,
could I have done? What should I have thought about here? Okay, so I did
mm,
this, but what would I do next?
mm, mm, mm.
And,
It's
the
very
thing
much
with.
about
Go ahead.
it's very much about recognizing the nature of the situation as it changes,
Yep, yep.
and because I feel very strongly like I have a way to respond to most situations
Yeah, I
now.
think we've built that up. That's why we did the VOD watching with the, okay, can you think of
Exactly.
solutions?
Exactly. But when it came into execution, it felt like it wasn't quite all there.
So now you have to recognize, and
Right.
it also becomes easier to recognize if you think ahead. So that's the thing. You don't
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
have to think ahead. You can just go from situation to situation. But
Yeah. You could
recognizing it
just
on
be
the
like, "Whoa."
fly is way easier, right? If you know that, okay, well, after I go for this jump read, here's what he could have done. Oh, he might have
Here's what
stayed in
he's gonna
shield, so
do.
now I have to think about what happens next.
Right. 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 Right.
But if you haven't
Yes.
thought about that till it happens, then it's like, well, what do I do? And then,
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, that basically mirrors exactly the things that I've been thinking about when I've been playing and watching my own videos
great.
recently. So that's great.
So now you work on that now. Also, after you killed him, you kind of double jumped in the corner. I think he easily could have hit you here, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the needle thing. I like this repositioning. I like those needles. Let's talk about thinking ahead for a second. You do some cool needles. So those needles work if he, comes in or jumps in that vicinity, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's
That was why
say.
I threw him.
So yeah, which is great. They cover an option. They're very effective. So let's say those needles, uh, he doesn't do something that loses the needles. What might he do instead?
Mm. Wait. So he doesn't do something that
Loses to the needles.
loses to the needles.
Yeah,
Okay.
that doesn't mean they were
What might
like
he
they
do
covered
instead?
something, so they were useful. But
Right. So
so
he
what
might
might
have
he do to deal with those needles?
stand still.
Okay, so he might stand still or just dash answer
Yeah.
outside of the range, right?
Dash stance outside of the range.
So
Yeah.
let's say he dodges those needles then by somehow not running into them. What will he
Right.
likely do afterwards?
Attack me.
Okay, so attack you. So I would say you guys are quite far away when you throw the needles.
Right. Yeah.
So
But falcos are eager, Sammy.
okay, I mean that's true. I agree. So like, what are some ways he could threaten you?
Yes, he could threaten me. He could. Well, hold on, my cord is very tangled. Sorry. He could laser.
Okay, so he
on
can
my
laser.
landing.
Let's stop there.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
So laser's the obvious choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna land from those needles and you're thinking a step ahead and you go, okay, well, laser's on the table. How would you like to respond to that laser?
Power shield.
Okay, great. So our thinking process so far is we avoided him with our dash away into full jump. We turn around needle to cover an option. If he
Yes.
avoids this option, he's likely to laser. So when I land, I want to look for a power shield. That's our full thought process, right? So let's go back and watch what happens. And let's see what he does, and let's see what you do. Great, he lasered. So, had you been ready, just thinking ahead at the level one, we didn't even think beyond the first step. Just our first thinking ahead said he's going to laser. So if you get that power shield, you get a power shield grab, situation's over, you already won it. So this shows that, like, you're capable of thinking in a way that's effective, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, beyond that, we might think of some other things like, okay, maybe I would look for power shield here. Maybe I would look to dash here in case I thought he would aerial, right?
Right. I think that's what I wanted. I think that's what I ended up thinking was happening.
But you actually dashed and jumped, which is really bad.
I jumped, yeah.
So that shows me that you weren't truly thinking about it correctly, because if you just wanted to dash in case of aerial, you wouldn't want to jump there because you'd rather whiff punish with grab, and also, if you stay grounded, you can potentially power shield during your dash back.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, just simple thinking ahead steps go a really long way, and you've already shown you have the ability to think ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice. Gimp attempt. I think your gimps look a little more purposeful, but I think that, again, you're maybe not quite reacting the whole time. So after this nair, I wouldn't have short hopped because, like, being grounded lets you cover his side B way better than
I thought he was going to come on a stage. That's why I jumped. I was trying to jump over the side B.
Okay, but like if you thought he was gonna side B, why not just down smash it?
Yeah, that's fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
you're right.
jumping doesn't help you beat that option in a better way.
Right. So bad. Just went into him.
Nice. So you did something here that lots of people do, which is after these needles, you just ran off immediately. But if we talk about it, what did running off do there?
What did running off do there? It put me into his threat range.
Yeah, put you into his threat range, right?
Yeah.
We don't want that.
I guess that's the simple answer. Yeah.
It just put you into his laser, into his down air. But like if I were you, sometimes after those needles, just stand still.
Yeah.
Maybe dash back, stuff like that.
Right.
I thought the grab was a pretty reasonable choice. But the dash attack afterwards was not a reasonable choice. So again, it seems like you overestimate the amount of lag on Falco roll. It is not as laggy as you think. This is the second time we see him roll and you respond with just dash attack when you clearly didn't have time, I think.
Right.
Also, it's worth noting he's at 0, so this wouldn't have been a useful dash attack anyway.
That's very true. That's very true.
Cool. So, talk about all that, and then suddenly, hopefully we're getting somewhere with this. Nice. Okay, let's talk about the jump needles. What's the point of the first set of needles?
To hit him.
Okay, so if it works, you should kill him.
Yeah, I should grab the ledge.
Yep, exactly. That's all there is to say about that. Thinking ahead, right?
No, I want to do it. Every time that happens, I want to do it. Sometimes my hands just don't listen to me.
Yeah, you're just already doing something else. Also, when he get up attacks, his body's gonna pull back. By the way, so if you delay that back air and don't fastball, you can sweet spot back air after he pulls back instead of weak back airing point blank. Does that make sense?
Look at that. Yeah.
This is one of the first times I think you didn't react at all, but had you reacted as you were falling with this back air, probably would have forward tilted him.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That's kind of a funny interaction. I think you're a little too eager to attack from the top platform, by the way, as a small note. In terms of following the rules we've laid out, and there's a part where if you end up on the top platform, so you'll reposition to the top platform, but then you give up on the strategy of repositioning and disrupting him once you're there. And sometimes moving from top platform to ground is good, but oftentimes it's like you drop through fair, it's not going to hit, and then if he's good, he'll just come in and attack you after.
Yeah.
So I would say think about repositioning more often when you're on, play the top platform the same way we talk about the side platform. It's you can stand still, you can dash, you can look for openings, you can go to the ground, but you should do it at a good timing so that you don't put yourself in his threat range. Also play the side platform a little more patiently.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
Nice.
I felt uncomfortable with how to play the side platform or the top platform.
Yeah. It's pretty similar to side platform, but you're also a side platform, need to be more patient, so this worked out. You messed up your L cancel though, so the forward tilt didn't combo. Again, I want to point out, and I think I pointed out before, your forward tilt still came out after you messed up the nair, which concerns me. Do you see
that's
what
fair.
I mean?
So I didn't fastball the nair. Is that what you were saying? Was I mess it up?
Fast fell it? I don't know. Something weird happened. Did you miss an L cancel?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so that's it. Your F tilt was well timed, even given that you missed the L cancel, which is worrisome. Also,
yeah, I don't know. I think I'm not sure if I just react to the missed L cancel or what.
Yeah, not sure. So that's something to pay attention to at some level. I'd also say that running into this up tilt that you're about to run into was probably pretty bad. Because your game plan's been working great, right? You've been doing amazing. Just
This is where it falls apart a little bit.
Yeah, all you follow the rules. You gotta repeat, and even the rules you have. Nice, I like that. You could have comboed a dash attack off that back air, by the way. If you,
I went for it.
well,
but I didn't fast fall.
You just want to fast fall L cancel and instantly dash attack, but you kind of waited to auto cancel and then stood there, and then I want to point out again that on the side platform, I think you weren't very patient, and this time he actually hits you for it. It was the first time, but to me that's like an obvious it's your turn to shield here.
Yeah. Now it looks like I would get clipped if I did a hard shield. Would you light shield there?
No, you wouldn't get shield poked if you had full shield up.
Okay.
The only part of Sheik's full shield that's vulnerable is her back foot.
I'll trust you on that one.
Yeah. You can just look at it later. Just hold full hard shield. And there's no reason you wouldn't have a full shield here because you just respawned.
Right.
Yeah. There are scenarios where that could shield poke, I agree. And that's very good to be aware of.
That aerial interrupt sucked.
Yep. Nice. Nice conversion. I missed the fair. I was really happy you hit the forward tilt fair earlier. This one, yeah, you didn't drift at all. Also, you didn't need to do an instant double jump fair. That was way harder than you needed to make it.
Okay.
You can do the fair pretty slow. You can just jump up to them, kind of float near them for a bit. I would have just full hopped and floated there until we fell to the correct heights.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see how that. I've done it before. I'm sure. Yeah. I can see it mentally.
Ooh, that was close. Careful here. Yep. You moved out of the way in time. That's a scary situation. So you have the sheik habit that many sheiks do, myself included sometimes, which is anytime you disrupt Falco successfully, you immediately dash forward short hop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking
Tell me about it. Oh, yeah, I do.
And it's a good option, but if Falco just chooses to wait, essentially what ends up happening is that you finally got your opening, and then you just give it all away to jump, and then you just end up in the same bad situation again. So sometimes that's good, and essentially that's good when you expect him to do things. Oh, he's going to move forward, but I'm going to use my time to set up my fair, or he's going to just do nothing but near me. He's going to be near me in some capacity, right?
Right.
But so the alternative to that is if he waits and then just shoots you again or threatens your landing, that's bad. So what you want to do sometimes is to get the disruption and then just play more ground game. Because you can move towards him walking or waiting, and then if he tries to shoot the next laser, then you power shield, then you get your opening. Or it's if he shoots his next laser, you were just standing still, and then you just needle him again for lasering, or you take that time to wait and then full hop and start charging needles, because if you charge needles and throw them on the way down, you kind of have more advantage afterwards, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
The other thing you can do sometimes is after getting a disruption, just start running around on the platforms again if it's a bad situation.
Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah, I've done some of these things for sure.
I'm just pointing out it's a really tricky situation because it's you still can't do too much, but you feel like you need to do something. And like I said,
right, I agree.
If I haven't fought a Falco, let's say I haven't played Sheik Falco in 2 months, the first time I fight Falco, every time anything happens, I'll do dash up short hop, literally the exact same way you did. And I think that one of the hallmarks of when I warm up in the matchup and play it well is that I don't do that every time.
Right.
It's also a really good way to beat bad Falcos, in my experience.
Yeah, super good way to beat bad Falcos.
But, yeah. Cool. So let's go ahead and wrap up.
Okay.
I feel like that was extremely productive.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you feel like you know the path you need to take?
Yeah, I think that being able to watch my own footage and be more conscientious of all the things that we've talked about, and we want to highlight. Get a different color pen here.
Yeah, I think highlighting, probably more than anything, thinking ahead and emphasizing following the rules and valuing positioning. Because even though you started off in every situation trying to follow the rules, you notice you would only do it for one interaction and then you just start fighting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've talked to you about it, but melee gameplay has a pretty easy to describe flowchart in my opinion. So the first step on the flowchart, I don't know if I've told you this, just tell me and cut me off. But
okay.
But, the first step is, can I hit them effectively? If the answer is yes, then obviously you just hit them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Step 2 is, okay, I can't hit them. Can I set up a mix-up that's good risk-reward? If the answer is yes, then you just do it. Or you play the mix-up. If you can't play the mix-up, then you ask yourself, okay, can I set up a mix-up by repositioning or advance my position somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like step 1 is, can I hit them? Step 2 is, can I play a mix-up? Step 3 is advance your position, because if you can neither hit them nor play a good mix-up, you should be repositioning in some fashion. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So Melee kind of follows that flow chart. And I think what you're doing is you recognize I can't hit them, I can't play a mix-up, so you try to create some advantage or reposition, and then after doing that once, you don't follow through on the flow chart again. You don't check, can I hit them, can I play a mix-up, should I reposition?
Right.
Because oftentimes the answer, especially in Sheik Falco, is actually you have to reposition again. It's rarely one reposition into hit them. It's usually 2 or 3 before you play.
Yeah, that's what I've come to recognize in this matchup, is that when I start to get more in the mindset of like, okay, let's reposition more than once to find the opening, I tend to find the opening and I tend to net a KO that way.
And that's a good shortcut to follow. Like let's say you're not actually following that flowchart and you want to turn your brain off, which you shouldn't.
You're stereotyping it.
Yeah, you just archetype it, right? Like the easy flowchart is always reposition a couple times before doing anything meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
But ideally, you can follow that flowchart effectively.
Yeah, I think I can.
And I think
I've been really good about not autopiloting. I think in a larger, in like a macro sense, I think in the micro situations, I don't choose the correct options all the time, and I don't know if I'd call it autopiloting. I think sometimes I just feel
you just don't know what to do.
Yeah, I just don't know what to do.
Which is fine. I mean, that's why we need you to think ahead.
Yeah, but in a macro sense, I feel like my attention to the game has been very good.
No, I agree. So, I mean, every time I watch you, it looks better. It's just like, still, if you go back to, the first time we talked about Sheik Falco and the description of how to play it, it's like you are doing all the bits and pieces, but you see it's like not fully fledged yet.
Yeah.
And if you ever need a reminder of what it looks like I did link you the VOD of my Sheik fighting Sleepy, and I think that if you ever want to be like, man, what's this supposed to look like again? Watch it and just compare your game here to one game of mine with Sleepy. And I think you'll instantly be like, oh, I see. I thought I was doing it, but I wasn't actually.
Well, what's funny too is I that's a great resource that I watched. I was watching Ginger's stream last night. He was playing some Sheik, and I was like, this dude is playing like if I wanted to play this matchup and I did everything correctly.
Who was the Sheik?
It was crazy because I was like, I don't know. I don't think anybody in the chat knew. It was just it was fun. It was funny because I was like, wow, I'm like seeing all the steps as he performs them.
Yeah, and then you realize, wait, I don't actually do this.
Yeah, but it was a great model for me too, mentally, because I was able to watch that and pick up a couple things. So that was nice. So I totally get that.
Yeah. And so I think you should revisit that as you think about all the stuff and really do a side-by-side comparison. Be like, okay, I made some strides, but I'm not actually doing what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Spend some time at that.
Well, if you have no other particular thoughts, then I'll wish you a good day, and feel free to contact me before our next talk.
Okay. I actually did have one more question.
Sure.
I say rarely, I don't usually make time to like watch other people's lessons, but people have been talking about it a lot. Are there any that you feel that you can think of that would be particularly beneficial? Yeah. Sometimes you just need to hear it from like a whole other situation to have the light go on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I wouldn't watch any of Swedish's lessons, but I'd say any other Sheik lessons would probably be good.
Okay.
Any lesson I've had with another Sheik that's not Swedish would probably be pretty useful for you.
Okay.
But I think that a lot of them are just setting up. But like, I think that you actually don't need to watch them right now. I think you just need to implement what we've said, because a lot of the other lessons are laying out similar frameworks for thinking.
Right.
And if you want like a shortcut, for example, you could watch me talk to Spark about Marth, because you and I haven't talked about the Marth matchup recently. We've only talked about Spacies. So if you want to be productive in more matchups, I think that would be pretty effective for you.
Okay.
But I wouldn't like go watch Spark's Sheik Falco lessons, because like you already know what you need to know versus Falco.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
So that's my recommendation. I would find matchups that we haven't talked about recently with Sheik players that aren't Swedish.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Well,
cool.
Like I said, have a good day and hit me up soon.
Thanks. You too, dude.
Yeah, no problem. Good stuff.